This is a Neko Media podcast.
What's your pleasure, sir?
Meow, bitches, and welcome to the Blood Cave. On this, the premiere of Cinephiles and Cenobites, where two geeks gush over cinema, and I make plans for their eternity of epic suffering. /tag you opened it I came. I, of course, am your host Annika Pussyfoot, Cinderella Hellborn, mother of Grendel, bringer of chains, fucker of faces, full-time soul-breaker, dog raper, and cheese-tasting hobbyist. With me, go on, introduce yourself, boys.
Yeah, I'm Mox. I like porn, tennis, and the Raiders. I love film, obviously, but I like books too. But reading is kind of hard to me because I don't enjoy it at all. Check me out at Mox at villainous_kind.
Blah, blah, blah. Other guy, your turn.
My name is Onofre. I like music, movies, and I'm on Twitter at ThisIsOno. Go Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh my god. It's the Oakland Raiders. Oakland.
Okay, got it. Dildos to some, douche ties to others. Moving finally along in this infernal nerdgasm, our first segment, where these two review and possibly recommend a movie recently released in theaters in what they like to call the /tag configuration.
Alright, so this movie that we'll be reviewing today is the feature full-length directorial debut of David Sandberg. The movie is Lights Out. Yep. Based on this short film of the same name. The screenplay was written by Eric Heiserer, most known for
Heisenberg.
The
Thing 2011.
The Thing, prequel, The Thing.
Oh, now you just blew it for the three people who didn't see it.
Oh my god.
Come on, Ono.
If you didn't watch it, too bad. It was an awesome piece of work, though.
It was.
For sure.
Yeah, if you don't like it, then fuck you.
Right. And he's also written the reboot of the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah.
Yes.
With Jackie Earle Haley.
Right, yes.
And the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Oh, yeah. Mara.
Yeah.
Right, Mara, right. And so Lights Out stars Teresa Palmer.
Yeah, it does.
Warm Bodies, Teresa Palmer. Gabriel Bateman, who's also been in Annabelle. Maria Bello. I'd say most known for Evelyn from The Tomb, or The Mummy, the third one. And Billy Burke, and also Alexander Dispersia. A little bit of director background. David Sandberg from Sweden. He moved to LA to direct
in film, yeah.
Direct and film.
And drop his new rap album.
Oh, yes.
Straight out of Sweden.
He's got a long list of shorts that he's done.
And they're all badass. They're on Vimeo.
All badass, yeah. All of them are on Vimeo, yes. That all star his wife, Lotta Losten.
Lotta Losten,
yes. And yeah, he made a feature length of this one. His upcoming work, he's going to be doing Annabelle 2. Looks like that's according. All our info research is from IMDb. So check it out over there.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes, and so brief summary of the Lights Out. So Lights Out centers around a small family dealing with mental health illness. In particular, the mother, Sophie, played by Maria Bello. Yeah. Her two kids are strongly affected by this. Rebecca, that's Teresa Palmer's character, and her younger half-brother, Martin, played by Gabriel Bateman. And so as a child, Rebecca had suffered from constant nightmares manifested by her mother's so-called mental illness. I say so-called because really we don't know the truth yet. And with visits from her mother's, I wouldn't say imaginary friend, Diana. And so Sophie raised Rebecca as a single mother after Rebecca's dad left, most likely due to her worsening condition. And at one point, Rebecca left also. And so years later, now her younger half-brother is beginning to experience the same things she did, only this time it's not really dreams that are frightening him, it's an actual supernatural creature, which we find out is Diana in the flesh, or Diana. In the ghost flesh. And now, so Rebecca moves back home to help her brother, and she's kind of we get the sense that she's given up on her mother already. But later, she actually tries to make amends. Terror ensues throughout the movie, and Rebecca now must figure out the truth behind her mother's illness before she loses everyone to the creature. And that's Lights Out.
Or hashtag explain a film plot badly. A mentally retarded woman makes her children suffer through years of torment and excruciating confusion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Sophie.
Sophie.
Okay. David Sandberg's style is to the point. We get a brief intro of the movie, Casey Becker style. And that's presented by Billy Burke's character, Paul.
Yeah, if you don't know who Casey Becker is, because it took me a bit, that's Drew Barrymore's character in Scream. She opens the film off by being hacked to death.
So Sandberg's style, yeah, very straight to the point. The movie is only 81 minutes long.
Yeah.
But it's better that way because in his shorts, we get to the point, the scare, the creepy ending. This one, we get more character. And we explore the creature too, Diana.
Yeah, but basically everything you learn about Diana in the film, you learned already in the trailer.
Yes. Yeah, she basically doesn't like the light, and we only see her in the dark.
Yeah, she had an extreme skin condition or whatever.
So there's a lot of lights on, lights off.
Not too bad and too irritatingly, like, another
Yeah,
critic.
it doesn't get annoying.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not there for 81 minutes. Click off. What's that? Click on. What's that?
That's true. That's true. Yes. So it's not annoying. No, not at all. It's more like.
But the lights do cut out because, or else how would the monsters fucking scare you? She only comes out of the dark.
Yeah. They do cut out.
Yeah.
But thank God for rechargeable batteries.
Yeah.
And
Or that
emergency
fucking
flashlight.
shitty crank your own
Yes.
flashlight up thing.
They have that.
They have that with radios too. Like, what the fuck? 85 cranks and you get 30 seconds.
It's running
Anyway.
out of juice. Yes.
Crank it up.
Yes.
Anyway, buy real batteries, you fucking bitch. Fucking lazy fuck.
The movie itself there's definitely a lot of quiet parts. Really soft, quiet parts. They don't necessarily drag, I don't say. They don't go for too long. And there are definitely small build-ups to sort of jump scares.
Yeah, true. I will say though that his feature length, is missing a lot of the tension that really provided the, I guess, maybe terror or horror of his shorts.
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, yeah, you did point out that the movie is almost like a drama,
It's
too.
a drama, yeah, with a coating of actual horror on top of it, because there really is a creature, but it would exist, fine as just a story about a family dealing with a member having fucking mental issues.
Yeah, if you take out the creature, you get I want to say soap opera, but a family drama. Basically. Yeah. We definitely get that relationship aspect between the characters as opposed to just a single
it's very
character.
strange, or strained and estranged. There's a lot of history there that is explained through dialogue and some discovery, but there's not a whole bunch of flashbacks, and they don't take the time to walk you through it, which I'm glad, because that would have just added minutes onto a film and not made it any better.
Yeah. They don't really go into too much detail on how this creature actually manifests itself into real life.
Yeah. You kind of are expected to make the jump yourself, or don't make the jump and just, take it.
Less is more?
Yeah, it's
Is
a
that what
monster
that is?
film. Yeah.
Okay.
Less is definitely more with his style. I wouldn't personally know a way to explain the creature any better or to make it worth tacking on another 5 to 10 minutes. So, just a shotgun style of getting it done and getting it done quick and get to the point, It worked for me. But I may be colored by the way I feel about David Sandberg's work. I really appreciate his directing style and what he's able to do with so little,
Oh, yes, definitely. And I think the budget for this movie was about close to $5 million.
Just short of $5 million, yeah.
And it's quadrupled that opening weekend.
Opening weekend, son.
It just did that.
Yep.
What do you think didn't work for the movie?
Marketing it as a horror fest thing.
True. I mean, James Wan's name was attached to the project, but it's not necessarily horror. And it's PG-13.
And it's PG-13, guys, yeah. I don't know, was it at one point rated R and they just
I thought,
did a switcheroo? Because I expected to see. But James Wan has been moving towards a PG-13 style, so I don't know. Maybe that's he's being like, hey, I'm gonna do this, so you do this too. We're all be it together. PG-13, more money.
No, we try to cater to a more larger audience. So everyone
Fuck the large audience.
Everyone can go watch
Shit.
it. Watch it as it's meant to be in the theater, not streaming at home or on your phone.
Yeah, that's true. But
I think for a majority of the part, though, the movie was good. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, for me, a definite go watch. You know?
Yeah, for
check
sure.
This out.
Yeah, go watch this movie
Support indie filmmakers.
all over the world.
From Sweden to Australia.
Yeah, I say as a first film directorial for feature-length debut, David Sandsberg did a really great job on this one. He definitely presented his particular style with regards to sort of the horror aspect, but more. I think Eric Heiserer is the one that kind of expanded on.
He characterized it, I think.
Yeah. So good job on Sandsberg, cast and crew.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to go for Sandsberg, you know. But for a freshman outing, you know, it's a good movie, you know. It wasn't horrifying or terrifying or scary or anything like that. But it is worth a watch, if nothing else, just for his use of lighting and his composition.
And his use of sound, really, too. Lots of emphasis
Yeah.
on sounds all over. And yeah, definitely go watch this movie.
Go watch.
Peace.
Go watch CC. That's like your guys' recommend tag. Go watch CC. So if you guys don't like it, it'd be no watch CC. Go watch, no watch CC, like Cinephiles and Cenobites CC. That's cute. Whatever.
Hey, Pussyfoot, so you're a Cenobite? Oh, that's awesome. That must be hard, too.
That's what she said.
What?
Chicken butt.
Maybe we should just do the next segment.
Maybe you should chicken butt the fuck up.
Okay.
Chicken butt.
So, are you gonna intro the segment?
Chicken butt.
This bit's called Kicking and Streaming, where we each recommend films and shows available on popular
Chicken butt.
streaming services.
Hey guys, what's this?
What's what?
Chicken butt, bitches.
My Kicking and Streaming pick is available on Netflix. It's called Hush, directed by Mike Flanagan, written by him and his leading lady, Kate Siegel. Also starring Michael Trucco of Battlestar Galactica fame and John Gallagher Jr. of The Newsroom. He played Jim Harper, the nice guy who comes with Emily Mortimer from when she returned to the network. I love The Newsroom probably as much as I love Battlestar Galactica. Anyways, Kate Siegel plays Maddie, a writer who moved to the boondocks from the city to get away from her ex-boyfriend and attempt to get through the writer's block, keeping her from finishing her second book. Oh yeah, and she's deaf. She lives in a pretty humongous house by herself with her nearest neighbors, a young married couple, a mile or so away. Other than that, it may as well be a really nice cabin in the middle of the fucking woods. Oh yeah, and she's fucking deaf. The film opens really well though, on a dense forest a la Wrong Turn, establishing that we're in the fucking sticks. From there it moves to really nicely photographed static extreme close-ups of Maddie prepping vegetables and a sauce to go with the lamb chop she's baking. The sound and the editing are great, really engaging the senses of the audience. And then the camera breaks free and pushes toward her ear. The sound cuts. We re-experience the opening static shots, but this time as Maddie does. Soundless. Her neighbor comes over. They have some wine and chat about her book in ASL, which her neighbor is learning for whatever reason. We learn that Maddie wasn't born deaf. She got meningitis and blah blah blah, she came deaf. Through sign language, she explains to her neighbor that even though she can't hear anything external, it doesn't really matter at this point because her inner voices can't shut up, accounting for her writer's block. She can't find or decide on an ending because she's too busy thinking of multiple endings. This is an important setup because it pays off awesomely in the third act and also adds a double entendre to its title, Hush. Or as Ona likes to call it, Shush.
Word.
Later, her neighbor leaves. Maddie eats dinner looking really bored or vexed or perhaps possibly by her internal voices. Suddenly, her neighbor, bloodied, runs up to her door and pounds frantically, screaming to be let in. But, of course, because Maddie is distracted by her internal confusion, she's not paying attention, and she can't hear her neighbor's pleas. The shadow presents itself from out of the darkness and viciously murders the neighbor, overkill style, repeatedly stabbing her even beyond her death. The killer wears a generic, albeit creepy mask, and I know masks are all the rage these days, but I like this film's use of the mask. More than just a creepy, scary gimmick or tool to hide his identity, The mask is a reflection of how this killer feels about the world and his place in it. Though we never learn his name or identity or motive, through monologue, we can ascertain that this man feels small and as plain and generic as the mask he dons. His is just another voice drowned in society's sea of solipsism and self-indulgence. But when he speaks with his blades, that is a narrative that will not be ignored. When he realizes she's deaf, alone, and trapped, he comes alive and removes the mask, invigorated by his captive audience. This film is far from flawless. There are holes in reason all over the place. If you're looking for perfection, go watch The Exorcist for the 30 millionth time. But if you're looking for an accessible tale of urban terror, Hush stands out among its slasher flick contemporaries in subtlety, creativity, and brutality. Check it out, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I did enjoy Shh. But I'm not too familiar with Mike Flanagan's other work, Oculus and Absentia. I've been meaning to check those out. And I think I probably will after watching Hush.
Okay, cool. What did you pick?
For my streaming recommendation, I have British mystery thriller Fortitude. The show is part of the Sky Atlantic network, which broadcasts in the UK and Ireland. It first aired in January 2015 and featured 12 one-hour-long episodes.
Let me just warn viewers, this is an extremely boring-ass show. It drove me mad trying to keep my attention on it, but it could be the way it's designed to mimic how boring it is to live in that drab and lifeless environment. I think that kind of setting fosters hostility. Death and black metal are very popular in that region, but what else would you expect from the countries that brought us Vikings? Stay rating, Oakland.
Well, it's currently streaming on Amazon, and for Prime subscribers, it's free.
Free.
So the show's name, Fortitude, is in reference to the small town it's based on. It's a fictional place located on Svalbard in Arctic Norway, so you already have an idea of its climate and weather conditions. It's cold and there's snow. And it's a small town, population 713.
Of humans, I think they said the polar bear population is like 3,000 plus or something.
I didn't know that was that large of a population.
Yeah, they're fucked.
But aside from the polar bears and the occasional drunkard, Fortitude is a peaceful town, non-violent, mostly due in part to these two rules, which I'll let Natalie Yelburton explain, as she's a scientist in Fortitude, played by Sienna Guillory.
In Fortitude, there's two fundamental rules. You have to have a roof over your head and you have to be able to provide for yourself. So it follows. Everyone's got a job, no one's poor, so there's no stealing, and there's no crime. Everybody's always happy.
But with a town this size, conflicts are bound to happen, and they do.
Very true. So much drama. In the cold, there's only fucking and fighting.
Yeah, that's true too. Placed in a case-by-case scenario, the amount of drama that exists in this town exceeds the number of people living in it. And there's all kinds of shady things going on. Thievery, force-feeding, bears eating people, sickness, death, murder, infidelity. There's definitely a lot of that. And some of these characters justify their affairs due to the cold that engulfs this town. And this cold is almost somewhat of a sickness in itself, characteristic of that desire or temptation to be close with someone they shouldn't be close with. I'll let Natalie explain this one too.
Are you having an affair with Jason Donnelly? Hilda, it's not an affair. This is Fortitude. It gets cold, we get close. It's uncomplicated.
Other than the affairs that frequent among the townsfolk, there too is an infection or virus that's slowly making its pass through Fortitude, causing people to become violent. And that's somewhat of an understatement. And there's also a murder investigation going on too.
Dude, you totally forgot to mention the coolest part. You get to see Jill Valentine from Resident Evil Apocalypse naked in a sauna. That was a selling point for me.
Yeah, I totally wasn't expecting to see that. But there are definitely other cooler parts in the show. Some scenes can be pretty intense. This show is basically CSI meets The Killing, meets Helix, meets Melrose Place.
With naked Jill Valentine.
Yeah. Again, a lot of drama. And a lot of lab work too.
Getting their science on.
You could take this to your laboratory. I want you to run tests on it. And I want you to tell me what kind of animal it came from, how old it is, and whether or not it came from here.
I need you to do quantitative PCR and some fluid stains, and then a capillary electrophoresis. We'd like you to cross-check it with the DNA from an eyebrow follicle.
Is this a blood swab?
Yes,
Whose blood?
that is what we have to establish, and as fast as we can.
Fortitude has a large ensemble of awesome actors, including Stanley Tucci, Sophie Grabel, Richard Dormer, Michael Gambon, Johnny Harris, Christopher Eccleston, Luke Treadaway, Mia Jackson, Jessica Raines, and the list just goes on and on with a lot of other great players. Season 2 is currently underway. I think filming is already done, and it's in post. And it will include some new characters and actors, including Dennis Quaid and Michelle Fairley. Should be a good time, and I hope it makes its way to Amazon right away. Definitely go watch this series.
Or go watch paint dry while squeezing an ice cube.
Yeah, okay.
That was Kicking and Screaming.
Streaming.
Streaming. Fuck, I'm bored. Hey, fuckers, take over for a bit. I'll be back.
Where are you going? Where's you going?
Rip a dog, get some cheese. Dude, what's a blood cave?
Pretty sure that's a vagina.
Is that why she's called Pussyfoot?
No, I think it's because she's a cat.
Oh. So we're broadcasting from...
A cave.
So not a...
Just a cave.
Back, bitches. Move over. If anyone asks, I don't know anything about a dead homeless guy and a shih tzu, okay? I'm talking to you, Mark.
It's Mox, like M-O-X.
I don't need your life story. You don't know shit about shit, okay? And you definitely don't know shit about a homeless guy and his shih tzu, right?
Right.
Fine.
Next segment.
Next up is... Hey, don't fucking condescend me, man. I'll fucking... Secular insanity. What the fuck does that mean? Secular insanity? Whatevs. The one with the fake name is gonna recommend a movie. It'll probably suck. The movie and the review. Spoiler alert. Everyone probably dies in the end, because that's like the kind of movie losers with daddy issues like. Secular insanity. Everybody's secular. I can't even.
The Shallows. I have been waiting more than a half year for this movie. From the look of the trailer, it promised a serious thriller. Man vs. monster on the monster's turf. What it turned out to be was a less than stellar creep of the week trying to cash in on hype and cheap thrills. And not a fun, self-aware thrill like Sharknado, but an obscenely pompous one like It Follows. With a ridiculous monster who's not interested in humpback whale carcass meat and not afraid of fire, because it knows how to put out flames. Seriously, at one point she sets the shark on fire, and it breaches and belly flops to douse the flames. And then there's the heroine, who's a surfer, and sees the dead whale carcass and is like, gosh, a dead whale. I guess I'll just hang around and wait for a wave amidst gallons of whale oil and blood. Then she's like, oh fuck, a shark! Why is this happening? Are you kidding me? I never understand why shark attacks are a surprise, let alone news. They live in the ocean, people. They aren't terrorists waiting for us to gather in a Chipotle. They live in the fucking ocean. That's where they are. It's like if you were cruising in your house, all of a sudden some tacos strode in wearing GoPros, taking selfies, and started getting gnarly on your countertops. Those tacos would be dust, because honestly, they were fucking asking for it. But anyway, to be fair, I took my nephew to watch this for his birthday.
Oh, God. You look terrible.
And I was a little drunk from some earlier festivities.
I picked a hell of a day to quit drinking.
So, for me, if you're going to review something, you shouldn't count on anything experienced inebriated. So I decided to watch it again. The Shallows is directed by, sorry for the fucked up pronunciation, Jaume Collet Serra, who did Orphan, and also produced Curve and Extinction, 3 movies that I respect. And the writer, Anthony Jaswinski, also wrote Christie, which Ono knows I'm a fan of.
Word.
On my repeat viewing, I found myself still irritated by the setup of the story. It's a bit laggy and introduced through dialogue. A friend who has traveled to Mexico with her but flaked out on going to see the secret beach because she's hungover. Whatever. The friend never ever comes into play. Again, whatever. But I did catch more relevant, albeit talky exposition. This beach is an obsession of Blake Lively's because her deceased mother, who died after a long battle with cancer, went there while she was pregnant with Blake, or whatever her character's name is, and she's going through a millennial quarter-life crisis now, pondering the meaning of life, dropping out of med school, and basically just giving up on everything except looking super hot. Anyway, blah blah blah, more talking, more beautiful cinematography, some random local boy surfers, blah blah blah, more talking, she's from Texas, her dad disapproves, blah blah blah, BAM! Shark attack. And we're off. Shark gets her in the leg, pulls her under, she struggles to surface, surveys the horizon, and sees a small rock that peeks out of the water. She swims like fuck to it, the shark pursues, but she makes it. Safe. During the commotion, a seabird that wandered too close to the action, similar to herself, gets its wing clipped and winds up stranded next to her on the rock, unable to fly away. So there, on that last little perch of existence, she and the bird are stranded, encircled by their demon's silhouette. Now, to enjoy this movie as much as I did on the second and third views, you have to be really stupid, easily entertained, on a date, or you have to realize that this is not a creature feature about man vs. wild. It's an allegory about man versus himself. As a man approaching his good old-fashioned Gen X midlife crisis, this film resonated with me. The shark doesn't behave like a shark, and the surfer doesn't behave like a surfer. Blake Lively's character swims herself into an obvious bad situation because she's blinded by self-pity and disillusion. The shark, who I've named Jocelyn Voorhees, thank you Honest Trailers, ignores his apex predatory instincts and shucks the easy pickings of the whale because he/it has a singularity of purpose, the destruction of the girl. It came from the deep for her. It's here because she's here.
The dark inside.
This film is rife with symbolism and metaphor. For me, The Shallows is what happens when your demons surface from the unconscious after you've allowed apathy to maroon you on an isolated landing. You can let the tide drown you and feed you to your demons, or you can surf a girl the fuck up and move on with your life. Definite go watch.
Hey you, Mark, with an OX or whatever. You got kind of a shark fetish thing going on, huh? That was some pretty flowery description for what could be easily summed up as Jaw 7 Gossip Girl.
No, I just really like...
Whatever, shark fucker. If that's your thing, we can make that happen in the labyrinth, babe. Okay, next up we got the shortest straw with Homo.
Oh no.
Homo.
Whatever, shark fucker.
Ladies, claws back in the ponds. Let's move this shit along already. The shortest straw, where this fucker's gonna recommend a short film, or a film about short people. I don't really know. The shortest straw, y'all.
Alright, in this shortest straw, I'll be talking about The Crystal Crypt, directed by my dude, Shahab Zagari. This film is of course based on the short story of the same name by Philip K. Dick. A lot of his works have been adapted for the screen, some of which you might be familiar with. Blade Runner, which is based on his novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? There's also Screamers, based on the short story Second Variety. A couple of my favorite movies were also based on short stories. Total Recall, based on the short We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, and the most excellent Minority Report, based on the Minority Report. And of course, there's the more recent adaptation, The Man in the High Castle, based on the novel of the same name, currently on Amazon. I haven't gotten around to watching this one yet, but I hear it's pretty awesome. The story is set in an alternate world where if Nazi Germany and Japan had been victorious in World War II. In The Crystal Crypt, the story is set a lot further into the future, where Earth and Mars are sort of on the verge of war. The story doesn't really go into detail as to why that is. Instead, it's focused on the last ship leaving Mars for Earth. And on board this ship, there are 3 saboteurs who supposedly destroyed a Martian city. And the rest of the story is set to finding these 3 people. It's kind of a catch me if you can kind of plot. Who's the real villain and who's the real hero. The story itself is a nice quick read if you ever get a chance to check this out. The film by Zagari though, I really enjoyed it. It's very prop heavy, lots of cool toys to play around with. The set design is highly detailed, and it also helped that there isn't much walking around in this story. You have the dark and dirty passenger hold on the ship, and then you also got the more relaxed, a little more clean bar, complete with tables and a lounge waitress even. More attention to detail is also shown in the costumes to the makeup. Every passenger on board looks roughed up. I must be a hard life living on Mars. I could see why you want to leave. The film's presentation too is a mix of live action and animation. That portion of the film is kept simple, but very bright and colorful 2D animation is used, which focuses on the Mars part of the story, and driven by the heavy narrative by the character Erickson, played by Cyrus Zogi. Other key characters include Jan, played by Bob Gates, Mara, played by Tara Platt, and Bob Thatcher, played by Yuri Lowenthal. This short film was made by ThinkSpeak Publishing, a media company and imprint of GC Records. The film was released in 2013 and has won numerous awards, including Best Philip K. Dick Inspired Short at the PKD Sci-Fi Film Festival in Brooklyn, New York, and also Best Sci-Fi Film at the IFS Film Festival in Los Angeles, California. The film was also screened this year at San Diego Comic-Con. The crew also did a panel and Q&A session. Pretty awesome stuff. It's a wonderful film, great adaptation of the short story. It's highly detailed both in narrative and presentation, very dialogue driven, and features a pretty kick-ass soundtrack with original music composed by Shelby Cinca. If you want to check out this film, go to thecrystalcrypt.com for details.
Up next, these nerds are so excited they can hardly contain themselves. A segment called Schrody's Ladder, where they're going to spotlight a topic and try to make it sound interesting.
Hey, maybe we should explain the origin of the name Shrody?
Who gives a shit? You two goop jobs waited this long to explain the meaning of one of your esoteric titles?
It's just that earlier when you were doing whatever with the Shih Tzu, Mox explained the whole Pussyfoot Blood Cave deal. And it was like a small aha moment for me. So
/ hurry the fuck up already, son.
Okay, well, Shorty's the name of our Neko Media mascot, Shorty the Grim Reaper kitty.
Right, and Schrödinger is for Schrödinger, the Austrian physicist whose thought experiment involved a cat in a box who is simultaneously both dead and alive.
Oh my god, that's so clever. It's like how you two are simultaneously gay and super fucking born.
You're a mean kitty.
Yeah, well, I'm a cat Cenobite and I'm still not the weirdest pussy in the room.
We still didn't explain the latter part of the title.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Sorry, Shorty's Ladder. Alright, welcome to our first Shrody's Ladder segment. For this episode, we're going to talk about the body of work of British director Paul W.S. Anderson, known for his remake of Death Race 2000, simply Death Race, which spawned 2 prequels, and the 4th one is set to come out as well. He too adapted the Alien vs. Predator series onto screen, one of the more famous works from Dark Horse Comics. He is also most known for the Resident Evil movies, which is currently on its 5th film. The 6th installment, which will be the final chapter, will be coming out sometime in 2017.
Thank God. Not that the films are bad, but just enough already.
Yeah, I do really like his work and what he's done with the franchise.
That's true.
I'd say the first one and Resident Evil Retribution, the last one that was released, are my 2 favorites of the series and my favorite out of all the work he's done.
I can't remember if I saw that one. Was that the one that came out around like 2011, 12-ish? I was a big fan of the first one, though. I remember you pointed out to me the many parallels it drew with Aliens, which was super cool. Hurricane Darby.
Yeah, so the first Resident Evil and Resident Evil Retribution are my favorites of the series. Of course, my absolute favorite of his work is actually Event Horizon.
Event Horizon, no doubt. Yeah, definitely mine, too. Although Death Race was pretty badass. I thought it was going to be crappy and cheesy. I'm not a big Transporter Guy fan, but I fucking love Event Horizon. Probably the scariest movie I saw in 97, and I was 17 years old. And still a great movie almost 20 years later. You know, it's basically The Shining aboard a spaceship, and I love The Shining. I love how both films blend the psychological with the supernatural, so you're not sure which is actually haunting the character in the particular moment. And I love how he bonds us to the secondary and tertiary characters, even though we know, if only viscerally, most of them will perish. I also like the way he explained what an Event Horizon is. Super simple and to the point. He didn't need 3 hours of exposition to explain the basic premise of the fucking story. Interstellar.
So Paul Anderson has 15 directing credits to date, with his first and original that he also wrote. It came out in 1994, the action drama Shopping, starring Sadie Frost and Jude Law. I saw the movie recently. It's a nice debut, lots of action sequences. And it gets pretty gruesome, somewhat violent. And of course, this is present-day England back in 94. I'm not sure how it was back then. But this movie looked like it was set in the underground side of England. But this movie, being an original story written and directed by Anderson, is a good representation of his style. It's quick-paced with good rhythm from scene to scene. He also usually works with a large, if not fairly good-sized ensemble, and presents each character well enough to remember, and decides right then and there if we like them or not. And there's also this one character with no dialogue in Shopping. I'm really interested in this guy, just curious about him and what he'll see.
What is number?
I'm referring to Jude Law's dad in this movie. You already know these two characters have sort of a broken relationship that needs fixing, and Jude Law tries to do that a couple times in this movie, and his dad just kind of avoids him, No one word is said by this guy. And Anderson kind of has this similar character, person with very few words. I'm of course referring to Kurt Russell's character Todd in Soldier.
Yeah, Todd. Ugh. I was not a Soldier fan at all. I liked the premise, which is nothing new, but the trailer looked kick-ass and had white zombies more human than human, a la Blade Runner, blasting during the kick-ass scenes. Pompey and the Three Musketeers sucked also, but, for a guy famous for video game movies, he is pretty good. The opposite end of the spectrum being U-Bull. Ugh. But as far as shopping, I was not impressed or engaged by Mr. Anderson's freshman outing. It wasn't a bad film by any means. There wasn't a lack of craft. It was well directed, patiently shot, and the ensemble cast were great. For me, it was the characters and the story itself, or how it was framed. I don't give a shit about post-punk car-thieving anarchists. I just wasn't able to connect emotionally with the protagonists or any of the supporting, really. I'm all for stories about characters refusing to change and marching, in this case speeding, toward their demise. I love tragic, flawed characters. Leaving Las Vegas is one of my favorite films to watch at Christmas time, or when I'm feeling too happy. But you made an interesting remark on the father character and their strained relationship. And that's an interesting catch that I was sort of numb to, but it does add to the undercurrent of the story, its outcome, and Jude Law's protagonist. But shopping just wasn't able to steal my affection, But for Paul W.S. Anderson, I think he's a great Hollywood director, and my dislike for a lot of his films has less to do with his style and more to do with the content or subject matter. I think he's done a good job with the Resident Evil franchise in that the films have become their own thing unto themselves. They don't resonate the terror, isolation, and desolation of the video game franchise, but they are fun to watch. I think I've heard you use the term popcorn movie. I like that. Resident Evils are great, maybe the epitome of popcorn movies. Plus, that hot chick from Fortitude played Jill Valentine, so that was awesome. She's so hot. Sorry, not to run off on another tangent, but I'm wondering why he didn't aim to carry the tone of the video games into the Resident Evil film franchise. We've seen what he can do with Event Horizon, so I'm wondering if the studio's involvement and the casting of Mila Jovovich determine the tone. I don't generally regard Mila Jovovich's dramatic chops, but she's bared them before. She did a great turn in the indie drama The Dummy as the profanely whimsical sidekick, and we all loved her as fucking Lilu.
Ectogamete.
The first Resident Evil was, to me, by far the best. It was the scariest and stayed the closest to the tone of the source material. But then from Apocalypse on, she's fucking Ultraviolet in Zombieland. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, that's true. The films do take on that shoot 'em up approach, or at least try to. The films do become better, at least with respect to more action, more dead guys, more gore. The story itself is no longer related to the video games.
Yeah, it does action up.
And sort of takes a turn into more of an Alice story and what she's progressed into as far as being some kind of super soldier being.
Well, as she pushes through the looking glass.
Ooh, Alex. But we are still introduced to familiar characters from the game. Chris Redfield.
The Redfields, yeah.
The Redfields, Claire, and eventually Leon Kennedy and Ada Wong. And I think Retribution is by far the best in the series. And I think he'll go out with a bang in the last segment, All Out War. Retribution does hint at this at the end, which was beautiful.
I don't really remember the ending of that one, but they have been getting more action oriented, and I love how he does action. He really does it well, and I am anxious to see what happens in the last installment of this franchise.
Oh yeah, for sure. What do you think you like most of Paul Anderson's work?
Well, mostly I like how he's able to translate without faltering and having just a fucking mucky mess of shit. Video games, which to me is very hard source material to convert. You'll never please, you just will never please any group of fanboys from any kind of original fucking source material. But he makes watchable films that come from a very hard source to adapt. So I like that about him.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love his presentation. I also love the props in his movies, which are excellent. It's never dull or boring on that end. Everything looks authentic and real in the context of the story. The weapons in AVP were super cool, and the cars in Death Race were pretty badass.
Yeah, Death Race is a badass movie.
Yeah, it was. Natalie Martinez! Great. So what don't you like about Paul Anderson?
I guess maybe that Mila Jovovich is in so many of them. I don't like tag along, movies or movies where couples have to be in it because they're both stars and they're working together. I don't know if she would have been my first choice for the make believe character of Alice or anything having to do with Resident Evil, but I know that's basically the bread and butter of her career so far, and I guess that irritates me.
Right. I'd say his original works are sort of a bit slow going with regards to story. But if someone else comes up with an interesting script, he's top notch, especially in the sci-fi horror genre.
Yeah.
And we also see that in his producing credits, Pandorum.
Oh, that's a good one.
Excellent.
I like that.
Yeah. Or he could just adapt something from any other source material to the big screen, and it will be excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul Anderson, you the
Check it
man.
out. Yeah.
Check his work out.
Definitely you'll watch stuff.
Right. Later.
Finally, the Ceno 6, my favorite part of this freak fest, where you two just rank your top 6 whatever the fuck. What's the list this time?
Top 6 Hellraiser films.
Nice. Short and sweet, and a topic I can get behind. Let's rock it, boys. The Ceno 6.
The box. We came. Now you must come with us. Taste our pleasures.
All right, welcome to the Ceno 6. Very excited to share this list because we have such sights to show you. This list will feature our 6 favorite Hellraiser films of the series thus far because, well, looks like the series ain't dead yet. A 10th film is currently in the works and looks like with a potential release date set for next year. This one is titled Judgment. And attached to this project is Heather Langenkamp, known for her role as Nancy Thompson from A Nightmare on Elm Street. Although we don't know who her character is in Hellraiser, we can only hope for the best.
And eat shit when it turns out to be the worst.
Right. And so Doug Bradley won't be returning as Pinhead. The last one he was in was Hellraiser Hellworld, the 8th film. In the 9th film, Revelations, Stephen Smith Collins played the role of Pinhead, and I think he did a good job on it. In the 10th movie, the role of Pinhead is played by Paul T. Taylor.
Stephen Smith Collins was great, and I'm sure the next guy will be too, but it just doesn't feel like a Hellraiser film without Doug Bradley. Revelation was short, so it was a good choice not to get into it as far as explaining the new Pinhead. Fans of the graphic novel know that Captain Elliot Spencer, Doug Bradley, is not the only High Priest of Hell in Barker's universe. He passes the torch to Kirsty Cotton, portrayed in the films by the beautiful Ashley Lawrence, who then, by default, passes the torch to Demon Hunter / Detective Harry D'Amore. But I wish at least they'd give a little nod to the fans regarding the different Pinheads.
Yeah, and directing this new addition to the franchise is Gary J. Tunnicliffe. As a director, he's done only a handful of films, which include one short film and TV movies. Most of his work is in the art department. He's done work on a long list of films as a special makeup effects designer and artist, which also includes work on every Hellraiser movie except the first 2 and Hellraiser Inferno, the 5th installment in the series. He's done makeup work on a wide range of films, including the Pulse trilogy, to X-Men Origins, to Olympus Has Fallen. So it'll definitely be interesting to see where he takes this next installment of the Hellraiser franchise.
Yeah, I'm excited for his vision. I highly regard directors who come out of the art department. Guillermo del Toro is a prime example. They have a definite aesthetic, especially when it comes to creatures.
I agree with you, Mox.
I agree.
I agree. The first film, Hellraiser, was released in theaters in 1987, written and directed by Clive Barker, adapted from his novel The Hellbound Heart. Throughout the films, we're introduced to different bodies of Cenobites. The original 4 included Pinhead, who was first named Priest. We also have the Chattering Cenobite, Butterball, and the female Cenobite, originally designated as Deep Throat. These characters, though, were merely supporting ones. The original film centered around Larry and Julia Cotton, husband and wife moving into their new home owned by Larry's mom. Turns out Larry's brother, Frank, would be squatting the place. But Frank's not there anymore. He's been dead and laying dormant beneath the attic floor. Frank, he's summoned by drops of blood.
Don't look at me.
After Larry sustains a wound, a very mild looking one, but really painful.
It's bad.
From a single nail in the wall. And I wonder if this single nail foreshadowed Pinhead.
Yeah.
and so much pain from a single nail, and how much pain he'd put forth on everyone for all eternity. Frank gathers enough blood with the help of Julia. These two have been in an affair with each other before. Frank comes back to life, although he's still skinless at the moment, and it's pretty nasty.
Super nasty. Nice catch about the nail in the wound. I think it is significant and foreshadowy, if that's a word. He could hurt his hand on any number of things, a splinter for instance, but no, he snags it on a nail. Anyway, before we get started with the list, shout out to the actors who portrayed the original Cenobites. Nicholas Vince, the Chatterer, Simon Bamford, Butterball, and Grace Kirby, the female Cenobite, aka Deep Throat.
Grace!
Yeah.
So at number 6, I have actually the 6th film in the series, Hellraiser, Hellseeker. In this one, Ashley Lawrence returns as Kirsty Cotton Gooden. We find out she's now married, not to any one character from the previous films. It's a new one. Her husband, Trevor, is played by Dean Winters, and you might be familiar with him and his character in the Allstate commercials simply as Mayhem. I'd say this movie was a nice refresher and definitely a necessary one to follow up the 5th one, Hellraiser Inferno. I say necessary just because it would have been sad to have stopped the series on such a dud of a film. But I do feel Inferno did make up for the staleness with its chiller ending, which kind of sort of helped to set the themes and sub-themes in the follow-up movies.
Yeah, although I love Dean Winters, I hated 6. I watched it 3 times to see if it was me or the film, and it's definitely not me. In the time surrounding this and Port 5's release, the world was still reeling from the Sixth Sense and the fucking twist ending. Now, Sixth Sense was awesome and is still a great film without the twist, but the twist adds another layer of depth to the story and the character's journey. I fucking hate twist endings that feel like the entire movie was designed around that damn gimmicky ending. Part 6 was guilty of this. It was nice to see Ashley Lawrence in Hellraiser again though, but they needed to give her more screen time. And I like that the franchise tried to branch out into different types of horror, but I still feel 6 is a fail. And now, to sound totally like a hypocrite, my pick for number 6 is Part 8, Hellworld. Another gimmicky fucking twist ending. I didn't want to pick 6 films for this franchise. I only really like 4 of them, but the Ceno 4 sounds stupid, so my 5th and 6th slots are just garbage time. I won't defend number 8. Rip into it if you want. I will say it was Doug Bradley's farewell, plus it stars a young Man of Steel before he got all Kryptoned out.
Clark Kent! At number 5, I have at the spot the 9th movie, Revelations. It's not a bad movie, certainly not a boring one, and it is the shortest of the series. It clocks in at about 75 minutes. This was probably due to the fact that it was developed at the last minute. Shooting took place through a schedule of 11 days and production lasted about 3 weeks. But the final product turned out decent. And this is also the first film not to feature Doug Bradley as Pinhead. The night movie opens up with handheld camera focus. I thought this was going to be one of those found footage type films, or maybe even cinema verite. Mox loves those kinds of movies, but it wasn't, and that's good. Not for this series anyway. This film is directed by Victor Garcia, whose work includes Return to House on Haunted Hill, Mirrors 2, and his latest, the demonic possession film, The Damned, also loved by Mox.
Yes.
In this one, 2 friends take a trip to Mexico to party up and have the time of their lives, or so it seems. And of course, a drifter / homeless dude gives them the old puzzle box. I'm still trying to figure out who this drifter guy is. He's basically the catalyst in several of these movies. He brings the box where it needs to go, it opens up, and hell literally breaks loose.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in case you couldn't tell by his tone, Owen was being sarcastic about me liking cinema verite. I do not. You know what cinema verite evolved into? It's called YouTube. I also hate most found footage shit, with a few exceptions. I do love The Damned though, and Mirrors 2 was pretty good. In fact, I was surprised to find that Victor Garcia directed Return to House on Haunted Hill and Revelations. Ugh. Oh yeah, I meant to tell you who the drifter guy is. He's called an Eremite. They are the custodians of the Lament configuration and all of Le Marchand's other toys, that he's made. They're tasked with keeping them safe and passing them from people to people and opening up hell and getting raped. Anyway, for my number 5 pick, I choose number 5, Inferno. It wasn't a good film, but I like that they explored film noir. I could have done without that stupid twist ending, obviously. Although there was a point in the third act where Craig Sheffer keeps getting told, go home, go home. And then we see him as a boy in his childhood home. And I thought it was going to be the story of the Chatterer. But, the Chatterer was a boy when he became a Cenobite. So I was really pulling for Inferno to be his story. But it was not. That would have been cooler than what it actually was. Some random cop's selfish ways have put him and his family in hell where he has to relive this bullshit mystery over and over and over and over and over and over again in perpetuity.
Over times 4.
Yeah.
So at number 4, continuing with the list, I have Bloodlines, the 4th movie.
Yay,
This one I was fortunate enough to catch in theaters, and it was a blast. This one we learned the origins of the puzzle box. The inventor is a French toy maker, Philippe Lemaitre. So Bloodlines in this case refers to the family ties to the inventor of the box. The movie is set in the 22nd century, and we are introduced to Dr. Paul Merchant, descendant of Philip Lemaitre, who, by the way, is all played by the same actor, Bruce Ramsey, who has awesome range. Played 3 characters, descendants of one another, and handled the 3 personas really well. So the story being set in the future takes place in space. Dr. Paul Merchant is on board this ship, and he's actually wanted by police for hijacking the ship. And to explain his actions to the police psychiatrist, he has to go back to the beginning of his bloodlines. And this is pretty far back. I'm surprised he knows his family history and all the dark parts of it. So well. Thanks, Ancestry.com.
Ancestry.com, the story of you.
It's also kind of funny that the 4th film takes place in space. It's a familiar pattern with supernatural creature alien horror films. Leprechaun 4 takes place in space, although I didn't see that one. Also, Critters 4 takes place in space too. That one I did watch and I liked it, but it's been a while since my last viewing. This was, of course, when Blockbuster was still in its prime. But Jason Voorhees didn't make it to space until the 10th film, and he was human.
Sort of.
Yeah. But what I liked most about this film is the origin story of the box.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that was fashioned out of hell. Man created it.
Yep.
Unbeknown to its true purpose, Le Marchand simply wanted to be known for his work and brilliant creations, along with a good payday, not working for the devil.
No.
He finds this out when he witnesses witchery happen at his client's home.
You guys, witchery.
So he builds a counter device, a device not known in any of the previous movies. The blueprints were made, but the weapon was never created, until now, the future. Other parts of the film I liked, we get a lead demoness. I think the second in command of Hell, superior to Pinhead.
Yeah, Angela, I think, or something.
Yeah. We also get some new Cenobites in this film. One in particular, the twins, with the faces twisted together. And most of all, an endgame to Pinhead. And it works too, because it's set so far into the future, and all the subsequent films act as prequels. So no real break in the main storyline of the Hellraiser universe.
I just gotta say something real quick for 3 and 4 up to that point. Before the rules was you open the box, you get fucked up, now you're a Cenobite. Then all of a sudden in 3 and 4, these random guys are getting fucking murdered and turned into Cenobites. I mean, maybe it's just because they were hellbound anyway, so, Pinhead and the Cenobites showed up. They're like, oh, we'll take you too and make you to my army. But anyways, it just felt like, oh, no matter what you're doing, you're gonna get fucking turned. So it just seemed like a bit of a cheat. Anyway, I liked everything you said about Bloodline. It is my favorite of the non-canon stories. So for my pick, for number 4, is part 3, Hell on Earth. I have only 2 words. Paula Marshall.
Paula Marshall.
Paula Marshall.
Paula Marshall. Yeah. So at number 3, well, I have the 3rd film, Hell on Earth. You can probably make up the rest of my list at this point. Hell is brought into the inner city. I think this film carries one of the more gruesome, scary scenes of the series.
Yeah.
There's an attack in a nightclub after Pinhead is summoned. I thought of this particular scene as scary and gross because
50 people dead one time.
Right. I always associated large crowds in horror movies as safe.
No.
The bigger the crowd, nothing bad can happen. Yeah, no. Everything gets either a chain to the face or cue balls stuffed in their mouth.
Yep.
Someone even gets killed by CD sliced into the face.
CD face.
Yep, pretty sick stuff. The film is directed by Anthony Hickox, who also directed Waxwork, supernatural horror flick, very 80s style, and its sequel. He also directed the sequel, Warlock the Armageddon, the best of the Warlock trilogy, starring Julian Sands as the Prince of Darkness. It also stars the awesomely awesome Paula Marshall, who is also in this movie, the third one. She's great in both movies. In this Hell on Earth, she plays a young woman who's been sort of hanging with the wrong crowd, now wanting to try and clean up. She kind of befriends a news reporter, Joey, played by Terry Farrell, and she exchanges information for a place to crash. They hit it off, but a small bit of miscommunication happens, and Paula's character goes back to her loser boyfriend, who so happens to be the one who's going to summon the Cenobites. Paula's character eventually becomes a Cenobite, this one as Skinless Sandy.
Yep, but not before she turns the tides on her fucking loser boyfriend and feeds him to the fucking Cenobite cube. Initially, that was his agreement with Pinhead. He's like, yeah, I'll bring you these fucking horns and then we'll feed him and then we'll be good and then I'll be your guy, right? Yeah, of course he will, and son, angels and all that kind of stuff. But he's stupid. And Paul Marshall feeds him to the block and now he's a bitch. So, yeah, you know, I didn't know Paul Marshall's character had a Cenobite name. I would have gone with sultry ass Sandy, but whatever.
Skinless Sandy. She almost skinned.
I forgot Paul Marshall was in Warlock too. Probably because I wanted to forget that the Warlock franchise as a whole existed. I do like the thing they did in number 1, where if you nail a witch's footprint, they get fucked up. At number 3, anyways, I picked Bloodline. I really love what they tried to do with this film. They entered a mixed genre. They expanded on the origin of the box and the creator. This film is basically the Red Violin, if the Red Violin could open a gate to hell and bring forth nightmare creatures. If you haven't seen the Red Violin, go watch it and pretend that the director and cast of the film had done Hellraiser Bloodline and won some Oscars and shit. Academy Award! Yep.
Alright, so for the number 2 spot, you guessed it, Hellraiser 2. Although I originally intended the first film to be the number 2 spot, and Hellraiser 2 being my favorite of the series. Yeah, but there was sort of a conundrum. The whole, without the first film, there would be no basis for a second
Chicken
one.
or the egg or nail.
So there was that, because everything that made the first film so wicked and terrifying, and gross and sick and fun, upgraded twofold in the second film. Hellraiser 2 opens up with the sickest and grossest part of the first film, and it was the scene that set the tone and pace for the rest of the film.
Jesus.
It's bloodier, creepier, and stays consistently throughout the film. In this one, it gets a bit creepier because instead of trying to run away from the pain and Cenobites, people embrace it, an eternity of pain and suffering. This film takes place after the events of the first film. Kirsty is taken into an institution to get treatment.
Yeah, but fucking psycho doctor. Well, yeah, part 2 is also my number 2. I originally didn't like this film, but I forget why. Anyway, I love it now. It showcases the labyrinth for the first time and the floating polytope-ish thing above it, which is the Leviathan, the ruler of hell. Anyway, this is a dope-ass movie. Ashley Lawrence reprises a role as Kirsty Cotton, and we are introduced to the character of Tiffany, played by Imogen Boorman, who is an important character, not only in this film, but in the canon as a whole.
Yeah, so I definitely have to check that out, more backstory on Tiffany. She seems like she's a quiet character in the second
For
one.
now, yeah. Later, she comes like this buxom whore who murders people who are thinking about fucking with the Le Machin devices.
Le Machin. So it's not a Chinese puzzle box. It's a French box.
I'm guessing, yeah. It looks, but she does get herself into Chinese finger trap situations.
Okay, so for the number 1 spot, Hellraiser.
Obviously,
Hellraiser. What is your pleasure, sir? Jesus wept. Definitely creepy. I read that originally the line was supposed to be "fuck you," and I think the guy who played Larry suggested Jesus wept.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that is much more creepier.
It's definitely creepier. All right.
Jesus.
So that's it for the Ceno 6. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the Hellraiser series.
Ceno 6.
I think they're loads of fun to watch.
They are.
But stay away from the 5th one for sure.
Well, everyone after 4. And then,
it kind of went downhill.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where the 10th
10,
one is going to go.
10, yeah.
Judgment. Hellraiser Judgment. Set to come out 2017.
Yeah.
All right. Later.
Nightmare on Elm Street. That's a fun segment. Good call, dude.
Yup.
Okay, boys, let's wrap this meat burrito up. Good show. Don't really follow this kind of shit. Glad it's over. Good show. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, be sure to check out the podcast through iTunes. You can rate and review over there. Share your thoughts. Share the podcast with your friends. go watch movies.
Go watch the movies. Oh well, yeah. I thought it was good. Glad we did it, and stay tuned. And as always, stay rating Oakland.
Thanks to all you souls interested or bored enough to sit through this. You opened it, we came. New episodes every first and fifth Mondays of the month. Questions, comments, concerns, whatever. Hit these guys up on Twitter at Cynical, and that's CINECAL_mass. And you can also check out their Tumblr at Cinephiles-Cenobites.tumblr.com, and random goodies on Facebook, Instagram, and whatever social media shit. From all of us at Neko Media, broadcasting from the Blood Cave, Ono, Mox, and myself, Annika Pussyfoot. This has been Cinephiles and Cenobites, and we have such sights to show you.
This is a Neko Media podcast.